Well, looking at the rock, I can tell that I formed the top. It's not directly in the center. At this point, there's just zero I can do about it. You can't move it or bend it. This is 18 gauge wire. If this would be dead soft wire, maybe I would have a chance, but we're going to continue. We're going to start to place the rock into the frame that we've created. And so what I like to do is just expose a section and make sure that in this section that the wires themselves are exactly where you want them. So as far as the top, as far as the bottom where you think it's going to clamp, this is kind of important because you have a little freedom to move the wires around. And when you do, you can start on the back or the front, but grab one of the wires and simply bend it in towards the rock. And what I try to do is I'll try to do the front and the back at the same time. So I'm going to form it right here. And I'll try to get a good grip on this with the pliers. Don't grab more than one wire, obviously. And I'm having trouble getting a grip on the wire. Just a moment. And then bend it towards the center. So the idea is it will hold the rock on the back and on the front. Hopefully that shows up well. And if you need to tweak this to get this absolutely level, that's good. But that corner is now held in place. So I'm going to move to this side and do this corner next. I don't really need the tape that I've taken off of here. And so let me just do one more. And it's kind of nice if you expose the bottom because the sides, because you kind of want to know if it's in the right spot. You kind of want those to be in the right spot when you start to do your bends to frame. The frame bends really are permanent, and you want to make sure that they're where you want the final product to be. So I'm going to bend, grab that, and bend that inward. And if you can get one side to match the other, that's great. They're not going anyplace once you bend them. Again, I formed the top incorrectly, so it's not going to be perfectly correct. I'm not going to be able to move that. This is just, you can use this as a do as I say, not as I do. If you don't have a wire that wants to cooperate, you can take it away from the other group. You can help yourself by getting a knife in there and splitting it out like that. That might allow you to get the jaws in there, especially on this thick 18 gauge wire. You might leave a mar doing so like I just did, but it'll allow you to get the jaws in there. And now we've held the top sides in place. Again, not ideal because I didn't center the piece at the top here, and we'll see how that plays out at the end. Obviously, it's not going to be a perfectly framed stone, but unless somebody's buying it, and I don't make stones that are good enough for anyone to buy now anyway. I'm going to have to clean that up later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to unwrap the bottom, and then I'm going to do the bend to form the bottom just like I did with the top. And I'll be back in a minute when I'm done with that. Okay. Sorry, I had to put power on the phone. It was running out of juice. So now I've bent the bottom pieces on the front and the back. The stone is held in there now by 4 corners. It's not coming out. I mean, really, there's no way this is coming out. The stone will break before it comes out of this setting. It's in there for good. So you could always just bend or tweak a little things if you want something to be looking a little bit better. some of your big decisions, like where you decide to put the top off center, like me. Notice that's nice and off center. Okay, you're gonna have to live with those. The top where you make that last bend is vital, and I didn't do enough corrections to overcome my mistake earlier, and it will be obvious once I unwrap this. So now that that's done, get in there with the tape that you put in place earlier temporarily, and you can pull that off. Again, you can reuse tape. This painter's tape is pretty cool in that it just allows you to reuse it, or if you don't want to reuse it, you don't have to. And pull that off. The reason why, I'm going to explain why you're like, why did I bend that to the side? The reason why I bound the top part first, and the reason why I put a bend in here, not a good enough one, is when you start to bend the bottom frame wires, if this is not securely bound at the top, okay, it will pull these wires down, and you'll end up with a really loose fitting. So it's very, some people use the hemostats to grab this section. I had it pretty tight. This is 18 gauge wire. It's kind of not moving anywhere to begin with. So it wasn't going to go anywhere to begin with. So I kind of knew that it wasn't going to be a big deal. I've messed up the bail a little bit. I'll just bend that back. Now that the frame is bound at the bottom, we're pretty much done. And the rest is a freedom of expression that we have ourselves. If you want to add some flair, the reason why we broke off an extra 6 inches earlier on, when we measured out 11 inches for the framework, is so that we had enough at the top sticking out both sides. We wanted 3 inches, 6 inches on top of what we measured for the circumference. We wanted it to come out because there's half on each side. We wanted enough for there to be a bail, okay? A lot of times if you don't cut enough wire coming out the top here, you're really sorry for it when it comes to making the bail if your wires are only sticking out that far above the top. Then you're like, what am I going to do for a bail? So, in this case, we've got some pretty long wires left, and freedom of expression, we can pretty much do anything we want with these. We can separate them out and decide how we're going to form these or what side we want to put them on. We can cut them all equal to each other or leave them all different. Depends on what kind of design we want, but we could have them all. You can cut one wire at a time. This isn't like metal shop. Cut one wire at a time. Don't put too much pressure on the wire cutters. Let the cutter do the job, and you'll end up with good cut. Don't cut 3 or 4 at a time, because you can hurt the cutters if you do that, or even 2 at a time. So I'm going to kind of go for a simple design, which is going to require. There's 5 here. I'm going to use a big one in the back, a medium-sized one here. So I'm going to go cut that down to a medium size and cut the other side down to kind of match. And then I'm going to go for a short one in the front. So I'm going to cut down the fronts of both sides to kind of match each other. So now we've got a large one, 2 mediums, and a small. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to create what's called, I guess it's a rosette. Just take your smallest round nose pair of pliers. Honestly, my first rosettes were done with regular old needle nose pliers. You don't need to have specialty pliers for this, and get that started. And then just take and move it in. Now, if you want to, you can go with the pliers that you had that are coated with Delrin pliers. You can have Teflon coated pliers. You can have, you can put some masking tape on these so it really doesn't mar up the presentation much, because that's what you're going for. You're going for a piece that's not like got all these nicks and mars and grooves and cuts in it. And then, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply bring this down to about here, and then I'm going to do the next one right next to it. So start off, I kind of want to get my smallest gauge of round nose pliers I can get a good grip on it, and start that over. And fold it over on itself. Once you've got that, your regular old pliers will do to bend it over on itself. And just start folding that down. If you have your hand on the back of the wire, it kind of allows you to tuck it a little bit easier. Hopefully this is coming out. I mean, earlier I had stuff off the camera. I'm really in an uncomfortable position to film this. And so it's kind of hard for me to get my arms out here where I need to in order to be in focus. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish these, and then I'm going to come back and show you kind of what I'm doing with that. Okay? Okay. That's pretty much what I was going for here. Maybe this one could be moved in a little bit closer. It's funny, I just remembered now that I wasn't wearing my glasses for this whole tutorial. I've been doing this blind. I have these 2-power glasses that I usually wear because I can't see this far. It's really hard to see for me. I'm old. And that's kind of the look that I was going for at the top. I could bend these, twist these, shape them in any way, but I think that's about it. That's all I want to do with it. This is going to be worn on a long 30-inch or 28-inch necklace and hang down real low. The last thing you need to do, though, is split your bail. And what you do is just get them separated apart enough. Probably that's too much, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be fine. It's going to be good for the necklace, though, if it's hanging. And there's some sort of, see, this will keep it from sliding. The links will prevent this will prevent sliding on the links left and right. So when you're wearing it, it won't just slide. The two will be more grabby, and so when you're wearing it, it will be less resistant to slide. I guess that's about it. You could take something like a sunshine cloth and really shine it. I didn't even really shine this rock on the grinder. I should have probably polished this a little bit. I have some other rocks that I could have used today, but I wanted to use something big so it would really show up. But you can kind of see how this has come together. The sides, the bottom, the back, and the front and the top. And so it's going to hang like that, and hopefully that's in the frame and you can see that. I have no idea. That's about it for the tutorial. Thanks for watching. And if you need really good instruction on how to do wire wrapping, you could go to a website called rocktumblinghobby.com, the RTH. It's got a lot of experts that are really good at stuff like this, and you can ask lots of questions, and the people are really good over there about answering them. And that's about it. Thank you for watching.